You know, there's been a lot of news over the last 24 hours, and we are going to get into all of it, but we have to start with the passing of Walter Gretzky, because the hockey world is mourning the loss of an icon right now in the loss of Walter Gretzky. Here's the statement from Wayne Gretzky on his father's passing. "It's with deep sadness that Janet and I share the news of the passing of my dad. He bravely battled Parkinson's and other health issues these last few years, but he never let it get him down. For my sister and my 3 brothers, Dad was our team captain. He guided, protected, and led our family every day, every step of the way." So that was Wayne Gretzky announcing the passing of his father. Here is what Commissioner Gary Bettman had to say. "Although he never skated a shift in the NHL, Walter Gretzky's influence on our league and our game was profound. He embodied all that is great about being a hockey parent, teaching the game to his children on the famed backyard rink he built in his beloved hometown of Brantford, Ontario. Walter instilled in them not only an uncommon understanding of hockey's essence, but he went on to say, a love and respect for the game that has become synonymous with the name Gretzky, all while ensuring that the game was fun to play. We all will miss Walter and his infectious smile. On behalf of the entire National Hockey League, I extend my deepest sympathies to Wayne and the entire Gretzky family." And when this news broke last night, social media just sort of exploded in stories of different people meeting Walter Gretzky. And he was the kind of figure, especially in Canada, that could be seen at youth hockey tournaments long after Wayne had even retired. He was just so passionate about the game. And, you know, in Canada, we call him Canada's hockey dad, because he really felt like our collective father figure in a way, Johnny. And you know this well, and you're close to the Gretzky family as well. I mean, you played for Wayne Gretzky in Arizona. So I'll start with you, just kind of your thoughts on the lasting legacy left behind from Walter Gretzky.
Well, I mean, I think first off, condolences to Wayne, his family, and kind of the entire world of hockey, because if you don't live in Canada, it might be hard to appreciate how well known and how popular he was, and how in many ways he embodied a lot of the things that Canadians want to be good at. They want to be like, in that he was funny, and he was generous, and he was giving, and he was tough, and he was a family man. And of course, he loved hockey, and he wanted his family to appreciate all the great things that the game of hockey could bring them beyond fame and fortune and success, but the lessons and the morals that you can learn while playing it. And he instilled that in the famous backyard rink. Every kid grows up with a backyard rink. It's all related to Wayne Gretzky. Grew up playing on a backyard rink. He taught Wayne how to play. He taught Wayne how to think. And he also taught Wayne how to treat people. And I've had the great fortune of being around both Wayne and Walter. And when Walter went in a room, he was so generous with his time. He was so good at making you feel comfortable, even though you're in the presence of somebody very famous. He was absolutely very, very famous, but he just had a great human touch with the people around him, and he will be sorely missed, certainly in Canada, but all throughout the hockey world, as not only through his impact, of course, Wayne being his son, but just the charity endeavors, and as well just the general presence around the game is something that, you know, he held his own, even though he was Wayne's dad.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think of a comparable figure, a comparable parent in the world of sports that was as famous as their son, who also just happens to be one of, if not the greatest player to ever play the game. But that was the case with Walter Gretzky. I mean, everybody, his name was a household name too, as was obviously Wayne Gretzky's. And I remember being a kid growing up playing girls hockey, and even at the girls tournaments, you would see him around. He would be on hand, and it was always really, he was always so gracious with his time, taking pictures and doing that sort of thing. And Ryan, I know you playing hockey as a kid, you would travel up to Canada to play hockey too, and you would see Walter Gretzky sort of at the rinks out and about.
Yeah, you know, obviously living in Rochester, New York, very close to the Canadian border, and I spent a lot of my time playing in Canadian tournaments when I was young, and there was always a buzz when Walter Gretzky was in the building. I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but he was kind of the ultimate hockey dad, right? Everybody talks about the hockey dad and getting up early, you know, driving their kids around, and you know, not as well known in the States, but if you played hockey in the States, you knew who Walter Gretzky was. I mean, he was such a huge figure in the community, I think, is the biggest thing. He gave back a lot. He was around local rinks talking to kids, and as I read more and more about him, just how much time he gave to people, which is really impressive. So really sorry to see that, see him pass away, and my condolences go out to his family and Wayne for sure.
He's someone that I met, I must be dozens of times, between being a kid and then being a broadcaster, and then even as a college kid going to Leafs games. He went to a lot of Leafs home games. I met him there at one point in time. And Johnny, I mean, you played in Toronto. You know what it's like there. It's like if you wear the Leafs sweater, you are automatically just super famous in that city. But you told a great story earlier this morning when we were all talking about this, about walking in with your Leafs teammates and Walter Gretzky being there, and no one really cared about you guys.
No, we were a small potato. We were nothing because Walter was in the room. What Matt Sundin would walk in, a 6'4", bald-headed Scandinavian dude, and everyone's like, no, don't worry about Matt. Walter's here. Let's go see if we can get an autograph from him or a picture from him. And of course, he would entertain all those things. And you know, I had the chance to meet Walter several times when I played for the Leafs, and he'd come down, and I got to tell you what, you know, he would know my name, and he'd say, hey, good game tonight, Mike. And it was very neat. I mean, this Wayne Gretzky's dad knows who I am and thinks I had a good game. And he kind of give you shivers like, that's really cool. But maybe my coolest memory of Walter Gretzky was I came out my first or second year in the old Maple Leaf Gardens. And I was walking down towards the family area, see my parents. And I come around the corner, and my dad had somehow managed, who was about Walter's age, to cozy up to Walter Gretzky. And the two of them, the two hockey dads, were having a conversation about hockey and life and their sons, and my dad wasn't Walter Gretzky, and I certainly wasn't Wayne, but there was a shared experience, and you could see kind of the pride they both felt in being involved in the NHL through their sons, and it's an image I can still see walking around the corner, and my dad kind of hanging in there, and I'm like, you little weasel, you got in with Walter, well done. So, you know, he's the ultimate hockey dad, and I think you hear in the words that Wayne shared about being the leader and the protector and the driving force behind his family. That's really where his greatest impact was, with his family and how he cared for that. And so it's tough. It's tough for Wayne. His health has not been good for quite some time, but it's still great memories from every time you got around Walter Gretzky. He made you feel better about yourself and good about the world. I always left talking to him or experiencing his presence feeling better about things.
And I'm sure your dad was just smiling ear to ear when you saw him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Talked about it for weeks, I'm sure, and is probably telling the story to many people today. And it's a sentiment I think shared by a lot of people. Haley Wickenheiser tweeted something very similar when she found out about the passing of Walter Gretzky and her dad. It was a picture of her dad and Wally, just two dads talking hockey, heading to see Cirque in Vegas. As good as they come, we will all miss you, Wally. And Haley Wickenheiser, one of the best females to ever play the game of hockey, I'm sure had plenty of run-ins with Walter Gretzky. And we're seeing so many stories, and I'll just add one more, because I think to people at home that maybe have never met Walter Gretzky or aren't as familiar because of where they live, you know, yes, of course, he's met a ton of NHL players and a ton of females that have represented Canada at the Olympics, and he made time for them, but he made time for everyone. And before I ever worked in hockey, I worked at a golf course, and we had a golf tournament, and he was a celebrity guest, and the golf was over, the dinner was done, everybody was clearing out. There weren't more than maybe 10 guests left there, and we're cleaning up, and in comes Walter Gretzky singing a song and being like, how can I help? And all of a sudden I've got Walter freaking Gretzky putting glasses on my tray and helping me clear tables. And, you know, I think that just speaks to his character, because he would not take no for an answer. And it wasn't one glass, it wasn't two. He kind of hung out with myself and the rest of the servers cleaning up for probably 30 minutes, singing songs, asking us our favorite hockey teams, and just generally being a really fun light to be around. And so that's my lasting memory of Walter Gretzky. And I think it's an experience that many people in Canada and abroad have probably experienced, that same energy and that same gift that he had for making people just feel special in those little moments when they met him. So our condolences to Wayne and the rest of the Gretzky family, because we really did lose a hockey icon last night.